So today's session we are going to introduce ourselves to Oracle GoldenGate, overview of GoldenGate, different types of architecture available in GoldenGate, what is Oracle GoldenGate very data we'll be discussing, what are different types of extracts and replicas, and setting up the virtual boxes and what are the training guidelines we'll be discussing about this. So let us start our session for today. So first of all, let us start with Oracle database architecture. So GoldenGate is a tool which was founded in 1995. It was founded as a standalone company and it is named after famous San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge. It was founded in 1995 and in 2009 Oracle overtook it. Since then it is known as Oracle GoldenGate. Now from 2009 to 2021, Oracle has traveled a lot of history. Like there are different architecture which has been introduced, different types of extracts, replicas which have been introduced. So GoldenGate has evolved itself a lot since the day Oracle has upgraded itself. Oracle has captured Oracle has captured GoldenGate or acquired GoldenGate. So you'll be seeing, we'll be discussing a lot of things. So the latest version is 21C, but 21C is still not that stable yet. So we're going to do this training on 19C, and subsequently when 21C becomes available, tested, we'll be upgrading our course content. So there is a thing, is my voice clear to everyone or is it resounding to everyone?
You are clear, Ashish.
Yeah, so Siva, there must be some issue at your end. Please check. It may be your speaker.
It was a little bit resounded, Ashish.
Yeah, yes, little bit.
Is it okay now?
No, it's same.
Okay.
I think maybe
Yes,
because
clear
of
to me.
it's clear.
It's clear, right? Okay. So let us start with Oracle database architecture. So Oracle database architecture, I'll quickly go through this Oracle database architecture, what is needed by GoldenGate. Okay, so GoldenGate is divided into two parts, instance and Oracle database file. So Oracle database itself is a big topic, architecture is a big topic, but here we are going to discuss about what is needed for GoldenGate. So GoldenGate is a change data capture tool. GoldenGate is a CDC tool. You must have heard this term, CDC. What does CDC stands for? Change data capture. So what does change data capture means? Whatever changes are happening on source database, those will be captured by tool. So GoldenGate is a CDC tool. So it captures those changes and applies it to target database. So what is source for GoldenGate or any change data capture tool? It is database logs. So let us see, when it is Oracle database, what is source for GoldenGate. So first of all, let us discuss about Oracle database architecture. So Oracle database architecture is divided into two parts, instance and Oracle database. Now instance itself is divided into two parts, SGA and background processes. So SGA includes your library cache, data dictionary cache, database buffer cache, Java pool, redo log buffer, large pool, etc. Your background processes include pmon, smon, database writer, log writer, checkpoint, and there are other background processes. Now Oracle database contains the actual file. So data files are there are three types of files: data files, control files, and redo log files. So data files are the actual files which contains the data. So when you do select star from employee table at the database level or any table, when you do select star, from where do you get the data? Where that data is actually stored into? That data is actually stored into the data files of the data. Control files are the critical files and they contains the metadata. So if you use your control file, it is most critical file in database. So it includes the metadata information. Redo log files are the files which contains the changes happening into the database. So whatever changes like insert, update, delete, or any DDL change which happens at the database level, all those changes gets recorded into redo logs. Now the size of the redo logs at the database level is limited. Hence, you take backup of these redo log files on your disk, operating system disk, and when the backup of these redo log files is taken on disk, it is called as archive log files. So archive logs are the files which are the backup of redo log files. So whatever data is present, so say for example you have defined 3 redo log files at the database level. So once all 3 redo log file gets full, so the oldest redo log file will be flushed out to the archive. So this is how your redo log file backup is taken. So the backup of redo log file is taken on disk, and those files are called as archive log file. So how does your redo log file gets the data? So redo log file gets the data from redo log buffer with help of this log writer process. So with help of the log writer process, whenever any change comes to redo log buffer, data from redo log buffer gets returned to redo log file using log writer process. So log writer writes the data from redo log buffer to redo log file whenever there is commit at the database level. So say for example, you updated any record, you typed update employee name equal to XYZ, where employee number equal to 7851. So what will happen is that record will be written here, but that record will be dirty buffer. So that dirty buffer, copy of that dirty buffer will be returned into your redo log buffer as well. So before that data gets returned from database buffer cache to data file, prior to that data gets returned from redo log buffer to redo log file. So why this redo log file is needed? For the purpose of redo. So say for example, before the data could be returned from database buffer cache to data file, your data, there is some disaster, there is some power failure, or you can consider flood comes before data could be written into data file. So when your database recovery happens, from how will the data will get recovered? It will get recovered from the redo log file. Consider the example. Say for example, you deposited $10,000 into your account at the cashier with the cashier in the bank. So at the front end, the cashier made the change, but before that 10,000 could be updated in the database, your power failure happens or there is some disaster. What you will do? You will sue the bank, right? And there will be the repercussions for the bank, right? So when the power comes back, when the database recovery happens, from where it will recover the data from? It can recover the data from your redo log file. So redo log file contains whatever change happens. Another important thing you have to note here is your redo log files or backup of redo log files, which are archive log files, contains committed and as well as uncommitted data. So there is a common misconception I have seen in DBAs that your redo log files contains only committed data. Guys, that is not correct. Your redo log files contains committed as well as uncommitted data. Now archive log is backup of redo log files, so same thing applies to your archive log file. So whatever changes happens into the Oracle database, those changes gets recorded into redo log files or backup of redo log files, which are called as archive log files. So GoldenGate captures all the changes, whatever changes happens into the database from these log files. So for GoldenGate or any change data capture tool, like there are competitors of GoldenGate, like you must have heard about ShapeFlex, you must have heard about 1380 if not. So from where they capture the changes from? They capture the changes from database logs. So those database logs in case of Oracle are called as redo log file or backup of redo log file, which are called as archive log files. In case of MS SQL or SQL Server, these are called as transaction logs. So transaction logs contains the changes, whatever changes are present in the database or whatever changes are happening into the database, those changes are returned into the transaction logs. Those transaction logs in Oracle are called as redo logs or backup of redo logs, which are called as archive log file. Okay.
This conference will now be recorded.
So this is about database architecture. So log writer, you have to understand like this log writer. So these background process aids in writing data to these files, like from database buffer cache to data files. Using database writer, the data gets written. Similarly, your log writer process helps in writing the data from redo log buffer to redo log files. So there are competitors available of GoldenGate in the market. Like there are various data replication tool coming in the market or available in the market. Like few years back, or still there are few of them present, like EMC Recover Point, IBM Mirror, Hitachi TrueCopy, HP Continuous Access, Semantic Veritas Volume Replicator, Data Core, Sen Symphony, then Attenuity and Shareplex I was mentioning, right? So these are the competitors of GoldenGate in the market. But still, if you see, GoldenGate is the dominant player in the market. Why? Why GoldenGate is like that? So there are some technical as well as financial aspects related to it. So I'll talk about technical aspects, then I'll move to some financial aspects related to it. So why GoldenGate? So data is sent in real time with sub-second latency. That means GoldenGate can send the data from source to target with sub-second latency. Sub-second latency means as soon as you commit the data on source, depending on your network bandwidth and everything is good, it is expected that GoldenGate will apply the data from source to target within seconds. Then GoldenGate supports heterogeneous environments across different database and hardware. That is another important thing. So GoldenGate allows you to replicate the data not only from Oracle, as we mentioned, it allows you to replicate the data between non-Oracle supported database like MySQL, SQL Server. With 19c, now the support is increased to Informix database, NoSQL databases as well, Postgres, DB2, and few other databases are there which are supported. So the major advantage is GoldenGate is also platform independent. So your GoldenGate can capture the data from your Linux, Sun Solaris, HP, and platform. So the major advantage, another thing with GoldenGate is your source can be any database, target can be any database. So source can be, say, for Oracle, target can be DB2, GoldenGate can replicate that. Or source can be DB2, target can be SQL Server, GoldenGate can replicate the data, and so on. Similarly, your source and target platforms can be different. So say, for example, your source database is on Linux, target is on Sun Solaris. Can GoldenGate replicate the data? Absolutely. Another important thing, with GoldenGate, your source database can be, say, for example, Oracle database 19c, target can be 11g, GoldenGate can replicate the data. Or your source can be 11g, target can be 19c. So with database, forward and backward compatibility both is supported in GoldenGate. Another thing is your GoldenGate version can be different on source and target. So GoldenGate has various capabilities. Now how it happens, how GoldenGate supports all this you will be seeing or we'll be seeing as the session goes on. So GoldenGate delivers high performance with low impact. Now the thing is, GoldenGate is a tool which is external to the database. We all have to accept that, right? Now because GoldenGate is a tool which is external to the database, we cannot expect it will have zero in database impact. So I would say it will have impact, but the impact which it has and the performance it delivers, it completely negates that. So GoldenGate delivers high performance with low impact. So the impact on the database, in fact, with the introduction of integrated extract, etc., the impact on the source database is very minimal. GoldenGate has ability to move large volume of data very efficiently. That means that GoldenGate can move your blob, etc. as well with very much ease. and no single point of failure. So you'll understand this point as and when we move forward. No single point of failure means like troubleshooting is pretty easy, and we'll be discussing about that. Now, another important thing here is this is technical reason. So GoldenGate scores above its competitor in terms of your technical aspects as well as financial aspect. Another reason I'll tell you why GoldenGate is widely used nowadays. Most of the organization are, of course, Oracle database is the dominant player in the market when it comes to databases. Now what happens is most of the organization nowadays sign end user license agreement, EULA, with Oracle. So when they sign EULA, they include GoldenGate as well, and when GoldenGate is included, they are allowed to use GoldenGate in any number of databases. Now because of GoldenGate capability, GoldenGate allows you or allows the organizations to use GoldenGate in different ways with added capabilities. That is why GoldenGate is getting very popular nowadays. That is why there are a lot of GoldenGate openings, jobs available in the market, you must see. That is why GoldenGate is getting very much demanding in the market. Like it is expected that you should know, you should have GoldenGate knowledge. That is what organizations expect as well. Right? Okay. So GoldenGate is best in class leader in real-time data solution. GoldenGate complements existing Oracle products. Like it ensures continuous availability for heterogeneous systems. Like it ensures that the target database is highly available. Like say for example, you're replicating the data from Dallas to Boston and suddenly there is power failure. So what your application can do is your application can switch to Boston, ensuring your database is continuous available. Real-time data access for reporting. So you can use GoldenGate. Like many organizations, how they use GoldenGate is they switch over their reporting task to the GoldenGate replicated server. So the advantage with that is your reporting server is getting real-time data from the source database using GoldenGate. So they can run their reporting jobs on the target server. Real-time data for business intelligence, EPM and Exadata. So GoldenGate along with ODI and Informatica is one of the best business intelligence solution available in the market. So a lot of organizations implement GoldenGate along with ODI or Informatica to implement the business intelligence solution. GoldenGate supports zero downtime upgradation and migration. Like nowadays, organizations are using GoldenGate licenses or buying GoldenGate licenses just for upgrading or migrating their databases. So when they are upgrading their databases to cloud or migrating to cloud, or they're upgrading from one version to another version, they are using it. So this data is from quite old, what I'm telling you. So GoldenGate nowadays is being used in all commercial banks, all ATM networks. So GoldenGate, when it was initially founded or created, it was created or founded for inscribed database, which is used in ATM networks. So initially when it was founded in 1995, it was used for ATM networks, inscribed database. Now its capability has been increased to several other databases. So your ATM networks are using it, financial data companies are using it, telecommunication provider, you name a telecommunication provider, big telecommunication provider in this world, everywhere GoldenGate is being used. Food and drug stores are also using it. So Oracle GoldenGate solutions include high availability, that means your target is highly available, zero downtime upgradation and migration, live reporting and business intelligence. So Oracle GoldenGate supports different databases and platforms like Oracle DBA. So these are few, it supports much more than that. So SQL Server, Sybase, Ingress, Teradata, Inscribe, SQL. It supports delivery to multiple databases. Along with that, it is also available on different platforms as well. So, any questions so far? Let us, after that, we'll discuss about different types of GoldenGate architectures available. So, any question before we move forward? You can ask or you can type in chat window.
Yeah, Ashish, Partha here.
Yeah, Partha, tell me.
You said about this GoldenGate will support different platforms. For example, Oracle, SQL Server, DB2. So the person has to have some knowledge in other. For example, I am from Oracle background. So if I move from source, my source is DB2. So DB2 informatics like that. So whether I need to know have a thorough knowledge about DB2 and the target database
So
flavor.
that is very good question which you have asked. So even when you're okay, let me tell you one thing. GoldenGate is a technology which is completely means it is only connection between database and GoldenGate is GoldenGate connects to a database. Apart from that, to learn GoldenGate, you need to have very basic knowledge of GoldenGate. The reason being I am telling you is you will understand this as the session goes on as well. Like GoldenGate establishes the connectivity with the database, whether it is Oracle, whether it is DB2, whether it is Postgres, whether it is MySQL, anything. So like you will understand as the session goes on, GoldenGate establishes the connectivity with your Oracle database using TNS entries. In the same way, when it is using MySQL or SQL Server, it establishes connectivity with your, it creates the ODBC connection. Similarly, when you have Postgres, etc., you have to create the ODBC connection over there as well, or DB2 to establish the connectivity. So only that part. So again, that is not DBA part. That is the connectivity part. ODBC connection details which you have to create to connect to the data. Apart from that, you just need to know like what privileges are needed and how to create tables at the database level and insert the data. That is the requirement you need to know. Apart from that, like I'll tell you, I have implemented GoldenGate for 10 different databases or 12 different databases. Means like Postgres. When I did now I know little bit about Postgres, but when I did my first Postgres implementation, I didn't know P about Postgres. But the reason why I was able to do that was I just needed to know how to create table or log into the Postgres database. That I was able to find through different documents and creating the ODBC connection. So the answer to your question is no, you don't need thorough knowledge. You just need basic knowledge how to create tables, how to insert the data, how to view tables, so that you can verify whether the data is correct when you're inserting or whenever the data is getting replicated. That is, you will understand what I mean by that as we do the session, as the session progresses. Okay.
Ashish, this is Raja. So can GoldenGate handle the LOB data by default, or like do we need to do some changes at the config level?
From GoldenGate version 12.2 onwards, it handles blob by default. You don't need to do any extra configuration for that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Ashish. Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions?
Yeah. Hi, Ashish. Like standalone in RAC, how do we set up the GoldenGate, and how from standalone RAC to standalone or RAC to Postgre, how we how we use it to approach in that case?
So we haven't moved to the setup part, but just to give a quick overview of setting up about GoldenGate in RAC, it is same the way you set up GoldenGate in non-RAC. Only difference is high availability, which I'll be discussing when we do the setup, which that point we can discuss when we do the setup. So we haven't reached up to that point, but the answer to your question is the major advantage I'll tell you with GoldenGate is the way GoldenGate works with Oracle in the same way it works for any non-Oracle database like SQL Server, DB2. The way GoldenGate works for standalone in the same way it works for RAC databases. The way GoldenGate works on Linux platform in the same way it works on Windows or Sun Solaris or HP. Now, how it does, why it does that, these all questions will be answered to you as and when the session goes on. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Bijam has a question. What are cons of OGG? Wait, Bijam, like you will understand that as well when we discuss, when we move forward with this training. Okay, so let us move forward. Any question, if you have further, you can post in the chat window. Otherwise, I'll give you a chance to ask the question. Okay. Okay. Now, different types of architectures available in GoldenGate. So at the starting of the session, I mentioned that GoldenGate has this training. What we are doing is about classic architecture. So what is classic architecture? What is microservices architecture? So there are two types of architecture in GoldenGate. One is classic and second is microservices. Now, classic, as the name suggests, it is traditional way of configuring Oracle GoldenGate. So classic is available since beginning of GoldenGate. GGSCI, many or some of you may have heard about it, or all of you maybe. So GGSCI is the traditional way of configuring GoldenGate, and that is through command prompt. So GGSCI is command prompt of GoldenGate. So until 2017, that was GoldenGate. In 2017, Oracle renamed that traditional or GGSCI way of configuration to classic architecture. So now, as of today, when we talk, Oracle GoldenGate classic architecture is command prompt GGSCI based architecture, which is available for both Oracle as well as non-Oracle databases. So as of today, GoldenGate classic architecture is still available. Microservices architecture is available from GoldenGate version 12.3. So in August 2017, Oracle launched a new architecture of GoldenGate, which is called as microservices architecture. So microservices architecture allows you to set up, manage, troubleshoot, configure GoldenGate through GUI, and allows for better integration with your cloud applications. It allows for better integration with your cloud applications. So microservices architecture is available from GoldenGate version 12.3 onwards. It allows you to set up, manage, troubleshoot, configure GoldenGate through GUI. It allows better integration with cloud. Until 19C, microservices architecture was available only for Oracle databases. From GoldenGate version 21C onwards, Oracle GoldenGate capability has been extended to 5 more databases, which is DB2, Informix, SQL Server, and MySQL, and Postgres as well. So now microservices is available for non-Oracle databases as well from GoldenGate version 21C onwards. But from until 19C, microservices was available for only Oracle database. Now let me tell you, still if you go out into the market, the dominant player is still classic architecture. So still if you are working somewhere, or if you go out to new setups, or if you go out to market right now, you will still find classic architecture is being used widely. Around 80 to 85% of organizations, I would still say, are using classic architecture. Microservices is being used by around 10 to 15% of organizations. But yeah, from 21C onwards, classic architecture has been deprecated. It's not desupported, remember guys, it's deprecated. That means no new feature of GoldenGate will be launched going forward. Okay. Now another product of Oracle GoldenGate family is Oracle GoldenGate Veridata. So Oracle GoldenGate Veridata is used to find discrepancies. So there are two types of architecture, classic and microservices. Then there is one more product in GoldenGate family, which is called as Veridata. So Veridata, as the name suggests, it is used to verify the data. So say for example, on source you have 10,000 records in a table. On target you have 9,000 records. So what Veridata can do for you is it can find the data discrepancies between two objects, and it can repair those discrepancies as well for you. So Veridata is used nowadays a lot because of these cloud migrations going on. So what organizations do is they use or buy Veridata license. Remember, it is a separately licensed product. So what organizations do is they use GoldenGate Veridata just for migration purpose. Just to upon migration, they want to ensure that the data between source and migrated database is in sync. So that's why Veridata is getting very popular nowadays. So these are the three things which make GoldenGate: classic architecture, microservices, and vary data. Okay, so GoldenGate family includes classic, microservices, and vary data. So there are two types of architecture. I again repeat, classic and microservice. Now there is one confusion. Some of you may have that confusion. With the introduction of microservices, does integrated no longer exist? Anyone has that question? Have you heard about the term called as integrated? So with the introduction of this, microservices, integrated no longer exist. Does anyone have that question? So what is integrated? Okay, so in GoldenGate there are different types of extracts and replicates. So just to clear that doubt, don't worry, what are extract, what are replicates, we'll be discussing in the next slide. But just to give you a quick overview for those who have that question. So now in GoldenGate, there are different types of extracts and replicates. So what does extract do? Extract process resides on source database and it does the extraction of data from the source database. Replicate process replicates the data to the target database and it resides on the target database. So in GoldenGate, there are different types of extracts. So your classic architecture contains different types of extracts and replicates. Same different types of extracts and replicates are available in microservices architecture. So there are two types of extracts. One is classic and second is integrated extract. So prior to introduction of integrated extract, there was only one extract process, and that was called as extract. When integrated was launched, Oracle renamed it to classic extract. So the term classic in GoldenGate means that it is traditional, the original way of configuring the process or architecture. So under classic architecture, you have two types of extract: integrated extract, classic extract. Under microservices architecture, you have different types of extract: integrated extract and classic extract. Now there are different types of replicates available in GoldenGate. First is non-integrated or classic replicate, which is available since beginning of GoldenGate. Then there is integrated replicate, which is available from GoldenGate version 12.1 and database 12c. So for using integrated replicate, if your GoldenGate version is less than 12.1, you cannot use integrated replicate. So for using an integrated replicate, your GoldenGate version has to be 12.1 and database has to be 12c. Then you have coordinated replicate. So coordinated replicate was introduced in GoldenGate version 12.2 to parallelize your classic replicate. And then from GoldenGate version 12.3 onwards, Oracle introduced parallel replicate as well. Now parallel replicate is very much faster than its contemporary replicate. So now parallel replicate is of two types: parallel non-integrated replicate and parallel integrated replicate. So the above replicate, what you saw, non-integrated and integrated, they are running without parallel. So when you run them in parallel, then they become parallel non-integrated replicate or parallel integrated replicate. So to use the parallel non-integrated replicate, your GoldenGate version has to be 12.3 and database version has to be 12 or above. If your database version is less than 12.1 and GoldenGate version is 12.3, you cannot use parallel non-integrated replicate. Similarly, for using parallel integrated replicate, your database version minimum has to be 12.2 and GoldenGate version has to be 12.3. If any of the two is less, then you cannot use parallel integrated replicate. Okay, so under classic architecture, you have got two types of extract: integrated extract and classic extract. You have got different types of replicate: non-integrated or classic replicate, integrated replicate, coordinated replicate, or parallel. Similarly, under microservices architecture, you have got different types of extracts and replicate, like integrated and classic extract. Similarly, you have different types of replicate: non-integrated, integrated, coordinated, and parallel replicate. So parallel replicate is of two types: parallel non-integrated replicate, and parallel integrated replicate. Okay. So any question on this? Different types of architecture and different types of extracts and replicate. So I hope that question is answered for those who had the doubt that with the introduction of integrated architecture, with the introduction of microservices architecture, integrated no longer exists. So Vijay, no, parallel and coordinated replicate are not same, they're completely different. So parallel replicate uses multiple, you will understand when we discuss about parallel replicate. So coordinated replicate runs multiple threads of your classic replicate. Both are completely different. So parallel it is. So now the question, or now what question people ask is what type of replicate or extract we should be using. The answer to that question is always use the supported, latest supported type. So if integrated extract is supported, use integrated extract in your environment. Similarly, if microservices architecture is supported, you can use microservices architecture as well in your environment. Now the question, which is very good question, can we use microservices with classic? Absolutely. So your source can be classic extract, so your source can be classic, target can be microservices, or your source can be microservices, target can be classic. Okay. Okay, so there is a question from Raja. Does OGG license covers both classic and microservices? So, guys, any answer here I give related to license, don't quote me. Any answer given by Oracle representative or Oracle account manager, that holds true. But as per my experience, when you buy GoldenGate license, you can use either classic or microservices. So you don't need any separate license for using classic and or microservices. For Veridata, yes, you need a separate license to use Veridata. So Veridata is a management product. It's a separately licensed. Okay. Okay. So now let us discuss how GoldenGate works. What is GoldenGate? How does GoldenGate architecture looks like? So GoldenGate architecture, you have source database and target database. So source database can be any Oracle or any supported non-Oracle database. Similarly, your target database can be Oracle and any non-Oracle supported database. So each database has its own transaction logs. So in case of Oracle, those transaction logs are called as redo logs or backup of redo logs, which are called as archive logs. In case of SQL Server or MySQL, those are called as transaction logs. So whatever changes happens into the database, those changes gets recorded into the transaction logs of the database. Remember one thing I already, or keep in mind, I already told you the transaction logs contains committed as well as uncommitted transactions. So whenever any change happens in the database, like any insert of any DML or DDL change, everything gets returned into the transaction logs of the database, from where GoldenGate takes the data. So whenever any change comes, GoldenGate capture process, or which is also called as extract process, it reads the transaction logs in sequential manner and captures the transactions, captures the committed transaction only as they occur by reading the transaction logs. So whatever transaction comes, capture process reads them and writes them to the trail file on local machine. So writes them to the file on local machine, which are called as local trail file. So these trail file resides on your operating system and they consume your hard disk on your system. So capture process captures the data, writes to the local trail file, which resides on the operating system. Now trail file residing on the source database, because they are local to the source database, they are called as local trail. Once the data gets, so capture process captures the data, writes to local trail. Once the data becomes available into the local trail, GoldenGate data pump process reads the data out of your local trail, sends it over TCP/IP network, and writes it to trail file on target machine, which are called as remote trail file. So pump process reads the data from local trail, sends it over TCP/IP network, and writes it to trail file on target machine, which are called as remote trail file. Once the data becomes available into remote trail file, GoldenGate replicate process or delivery process reads the data from remote trail and applies it to target database. So here are three processes involved in GoldenGate: capture, which is also called as extract, then data pump process, and then delivery, which is also called as GoldenGate replicate process. So there are three processes involved here, which does the task for you. Capture process captures the data by reading the transaction logs of the database, writes it to local trail file. Once the data becomes available into local trail, data pump process reads the data from local trail, sends it over TCP/IP network, and writes it to trail file on target machine. Now this file on source database, trail file on source database is called as local trail. Trail files on target database machine or server are called as remote trail file. Once the data becomes available into remote trail, the GoldenGate replicate process read the data from remote trail and apply it to target database. So there are three processes involved. Remember guys, one thing, going forward, whenever you hear or I say extract or capture, it means same. Similarly, delivery and replicate process are used interchangeably. So these are the terms you have to keep in mind. So there are three processes. So guys, this GoldenGate architecture, just like database architecture, when I started learning Oracle database, my first teacher told me that if you have understood your Oracle database architecture, you have learned 50 or 60% of Oracle database, and that really holds true. Same thing with GoldenGate. If we have this architect, so database architecture is pretty deep and it's pretty complicated as well. But this GoldenGate architecture, guys, is pretty simple. You can see there are three processes involved, and data flow is simple, but you have to understand it. The reason being is whenever you have to set up GoldenGate, whenever you have to troubleshoot any issue of GoldenGate, whenever you have to perform any performance tuning, anything related to GoldenGate, you have to do. This architecture is going to help you. So this architecture, though it is very simple, but yes, this architecture you have to learn, this architecture you have to understand really very well. So I again repeat the architecture. So you have a source database. The capture, GoldenGate capture or extract process captures the committed transaction, writes them to the trail file on local machine, which are called as local trail. Pump process reads the data from local trail, sends it over TCP/IP network, and writes it to remote trail on target. The replicate process reads the data from remote trail and apply it to target. So if you see here, there are three processes involved: capture, pump, and delivery. Each process has a source to read from and a target to write to. So capture process source is transaction logs of the database. Target is local trail. Pump process source is local trail of the database. Target is remote trail. Replicate process source is remote trail of the database, and target is target database. Okay. Now GoldenGate is also used in bidirectional environment. Bidirectional means both the sites will be live in GoldenGate. So transaction can come to any of the site. Transaction can come to site A or site B. GoldenGate will replicate the data. So if the transaction comes from on site A, it will be replicated to site B. Similarly, if any transaction come on site B, it will be replicated to site A using GoldenGate. So GoldenGate, in bidirectional, what happens is your extract, pump, and delivery now reside in site B. So site B will have its own transaction logs. So whenever application does any change, the capture process will capture it, write it to local trail on site B. The pump process residing on site B will send the data over TCP/IP network and write it to remote trail on site A. The replicate process configured on site A will apply it to site A. So bidirectional, I always say one thing. Bidirectional is nothing but two-way unidirectional. Just like you set up site A to site B replication, in the same way you can set up site B to site A replication. But there are few considerations which you have to do, which we'll be discussing when we set up bidirectional configuration, when we discuss about bidirectional configuration. So bidirectional is nothing but two-way unidirectional, but with some consideration. Those considerations we are going to discuss when we do the setup of bidirectional. So capture process captures the data and write to local trail. Pump process reads the data from local trail, writes it to remote trail, and then replicate process applied to target data. Now, as I told you, there are two types of extract. One is classic, second is integrated. So nowadays integrated is used. So what is the difference between classic and integrated? So the classic one is the extract process establishes the connectivity with target. The extract process establishes the connectivity with source transaction logs. It reads the transaction in sequential manner and then writes it to source database. So that is the classic extract. Now what happens in integrated extract? In integrated extract, what happens is whatever changes are happening into the database, a copy of those changes gets written into the log miner database. So as soon as you configure integrated extract, automatically log miner will happen. You will understand when we do the setup. Don't worry about that. But just to give you an overview. So when integrated extract is used, so what happens is whatever changes are getting returned to your redo logs or archive logs, the copy of those changes gets returned to the log miner database. Now, whatever changes are needed by extract process, log miner passes on those changes to the extract process in form of LCR. LCR stands for logical change records. Logical change records. So extract process receives the changes from log miner database in form of LCR, and then extract process writes those to local trail, and then data pump writes it to remote trail. So the difference between the two is in classic and integrated is the classic extract is connecting to the source database directly. However, in integrated extract process is not establishing the direct connection with the database. It is receiving the changes from the log miner database, whatever is needed by the extract process. So log miner is receiving whatever changes are needed, and then log miner passes on those changes to the extract process in form of LCR, logical change records, and then extract process writes them to the local trail file. Now, the question here to you is, the performance of integrated capture is very much faster. I would say 5 to 6 times faster than your classic extract. So the performance of integrated capture is very much fast. But logically, if you see, like there is one more utility in between of redo log and extract. There is one more utility of log miner in integrated. However, here extract process is establishing direct connectivity. So logically, upon looking at this architecture, it looks like the classic extract performance should be better. No? What do you think? Did you get my question first of all? My question again, I repeat, is I told you, and I did that test myself. I'm not going by Oracle words. The performance of integrated capture is 5 to 6 times faster than classic capture. But if you look at the architecture, the classic extract is directly establishing the connectivity with source database. However, in integrated capture, there is one more layer in between of log miner. So how come the performance of integrated capture is faster than classic? Anyone would like to answer this? What do you think? How can the performance of integrated capture be faster than classic one?
Maybe the log miner process will filter because it has one more layer in between when compared to classic. So log miner will do many operations, but the CPU will be intensive during that operations. This is my guess. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you are somewhat
I
near.
think
Yeah,
I think it is
Ashish,
not doing block shift.
sorry,
It is,
Murli, you can continue.
it is
Srinivas,
not.
let Murli continue. Yeah, Murli.
I think Ashish, there is a one layer, but in a integrated capture is not want to check all the database. I think it's check only data from this layer only.
Okay, good. Srinivas?
What I'm suspecting, it won't do any block shifting. It will query the online redo log and convert the SQL statement and write to trail file.
Okay, I'll answer this for you. So, first two answers were somewhat near. Srinivas, your answer is not what I was expecting. Okay, so here, but guys, one thing I'll tell you, keep answering whatever questions I ask, or if you have any doubt, keep asking. Like, you may be, that's why you guys are here, right? If you know, you won't come, you would not have joined the training. So whatever you have in your mind, speak up, so that whatever, even if you are wrong, you will have, I will have chance to correct you, right? So don't worry about, speak whatever question, answer you have to give. Speak up, be active during the training, and everything will be clear to you. So the answer to this question is, in classic capture, even though there is no layer, but classic capture is reading the transaction logs sequentially. Now classic capture is a tool, GoldenGate, as I told, is a tool which is external to the database. Suppose there are 1,000 records in the database related to, so redo logs contains the transaction related to system and application schema. Now suppose there are 1,000 transactions of sys system, and then there are 2 transactions which extract process has to capture. But what in classic capture case, the classic capture will have to do is it has to scan all 1,000 transactions first, which still it has not to capture. But in case, and because it is external to the database, it will be a bit slow. But in case of integrated capture, that task of filtering whatever filtration needs to be done, it will be done by log miner. Now because log miner is internal to the database, it is much faster, and those 2 transactions which are needed by extract process will be passed on by the log miner process in form of LCR to the integrated capture. Okay, so integrated capture is much faster. If you have to look at integrated capture architecture, it looks like this. Integrated capture architecture internally contains 4 processes: reader, preparer, builder, and capture. So reader reads the data, preparer prepares the data, and builder builds the data, and then capture process captures the data and then send it to the extract process. So internally there are 4 processes which work in case of integrated capture. So if I have to quickly revise the GoldenGate architecture, which is really very important, guys, this architecture. So GoldenGate architecture involves GoldenGate extract process, which reads the data from the transaction logs and writes to local trail. Once the data becomes available into local trail, data pump process reads the data from local trail, sends it over TCP/IP network and writes it to remote trail. And then the GoldenGate replicate process reads the data from remote trail and applies it to target data. So don't worry about the guys that log miner database do we have to build or how it happens. Everything you will be able to understand, it happens automatically. I'll show it to you when we do the practice. Any question from anyone so far? Okay, so if no questions are there, So this is the content of day 1. So day 2 session will be, guys, on Monday. As per EST timing, it will be next week. So these sessions are conducted as per US or Canada timing, Monday to Thursday evening time, and as per Indian timing or Gulf timing, it will be conducted in morning time. So Indian standard time is 7 to 8, Tuesday to Friday. So the next session is next week, Monday 29th August, 9:30 to 10:30 p.m. EST, and as per IST, it will be on Tuesday 30th August, and I'll be sharing with you the details over WhatsApp. So in the next session, what we'll be discussing is, we'll be discussing about GoldenGate certification metrics, how to download GoldenGate binaries, how to install Oracle GoldenGate, decide where to download GoldenGate, and then prerequisite to set up Oracle GoldenGate. So what steps you have to do prior to the next session is, so these are the tasks assigned for this session. Create the VMs and create the database OGG DB1 on GGate 1 and OGG DB2 on GGate 2. So we'll be discussing about how to set up your VM and everything and training guidelines now. Okay. So if I have to quickly recap what we have discussed today, let me quickly recap. So in today's session, this was day 1 session. So day 1 recap is, we started with introduction to Oracle GoldenGate. So GoldenGate was acquired by Oracle in 2009, and since then it is called as Oracle GoldenGate. In 2017, another architecture of GoldenGate was launched, which is microservices architecture. So now you have two types of architecture, classic and microservices. Then we also discussed about what is GoldenGate Veridata, which is a data verification tool. And then we discussed about why GoldenGate, what is the technical reason, and what are the financial reasons for it. Then we discussed about what are different types of extract, which is classic and integrated. And then we discussed about different types of replicate, like non-integrated or classic, integrated, coordinated, and parallel replicate. So then we discussed about Oracle GoldenGate architecture, how data flows. So extract process extracts the data, writes to local trail. Pump process reads the data from local trail, sends it over TCP/IP network, and writes it to remote trail. And then replicate process applies it to target data. So I'll be discussing now about the training guidelines quickly. So for the training, guys, you must have received few emails. If not, you will be receiving it if you enroll for the training recently. So you will be receiving those emails. So first email is for your information purpose only. So this is for training enrollment confirmation. Please check this email and check your enrollment details for the courses you are enrolled into. So this tells you what is your enrollment status. So if you have received this email that your enrollment is successful, you are enrolled for the course. The next email you must have received is related to the lab setup kit. So with the training, I have shared with you the pre-cooked virtual boxes, which comes with database software 12.2 and GoldenGate 19c. So this is the virtual box which you have received. So you have received these virtual box images, and there is GoldenGate version 19c and 12.2 database binaries present. Database is not created, but binaries are present. So you can click on this link to get your lab setup. And then there will be like location. This is not yet shared, but just to give you an overview, like this is the location, means you will be receiving this link soon. So latest classic weekday 2208 will be the link which you will be receiving soon. So all the session recordings will be uploaded in this folder device. So what you have to do, how to access this folder is, go to your drive.google.com and then on the left click on shared with me. You will find a folder with the name latest classic weekday 2208, and over there all the sessions recording will be uploaded device. So today's day 1 recording will be uploaded in this within 24 hours. You can check, and the access is not, you may not have received the access yet, so access will soon be granted. Within 24 hours you will get that information. So how to access this, check after 24 hours, go to drive.google.com and on the left click on share with me, you will get that. So let me quickly go over the lab setup details. How can you set up the lab? So for setting up this lab virtual boxes, you have to click on this link. Okay, when you click on this link, you will find this one video is there, how to set up lab. Open that, means watch this video. It's around 30 minutes video prior to setting up the lab. Then download this gate1.ova. It is around 11 to 13 GB file, so it may take some time. If you are on LAN connection, that will be helpful. If you are on wireless, if it's not stable, then it may take some time to download. And download this virtual box software as well. Okay, so this virtual box software is you can download from virtualbox.org, the latest software as well. If you want to download, you can download the latest software, latest version as well. Here you will see 6.0.20. I think the latest version is much higher, so I would suggest go to virtualbox.org. It's free. You can download the latest version as well. Okay, now once you download, import this. So there is step-by-step activity guide as well to set this up, and how to set up lab as well. So in the same folder where recordings are there, there is one activity guide folder is there. So we'll be using those activity guides during the session. So don't worry about those activity guides for today. We haven't used any activity guides. From next session we'll be using those. So what you have to do, let me quickly tell you. So download that gate1.ova. Once you download, go to file, click on import appliance, and go to the location where you have got your gate1.ova downloaded. Go to that location. And select it, click on next, and then you can choose MAC address policy, like generate new MAC address for all network adapter or whatever you want. Then click on import. Your import will start. Now this import can range from 5 minutes to 45 minutes. It can take some time. Once it is imported, then you have to right click and clone it. This way, so you can give gate2 over here. Okay, and then next step is very important. Use the MAC address policy as generate new MAC address for all network adapter. Then click on next, select full clone and clone it. When you clone it, remember you can only clone when the machine is in powered off state. You cannot clone the machine when it's in open state. So ensure that it's powered off. Once it is cloned, then you can open it. You can start it. So this should be started. So it is recommended that you should have 8 GB of RAM. Now if you have less than 8 GB or if you have 4 GB, then don't clone it. Just use one virtual box in that case. Okay. Once you clone it, after this, you can follow this step-by-step pictorial guide, or you can follow the video to set this up. So it has everything. So what you have to do is, it shows how to import, then clone part will come. So cloning will come just like I showed you. Then once cloning is done, then start your virtual box. Update the host name in gate2. Then you will need to update the host name. So remember, the password of Oracle or any root user is welcome one, small letter. Okay, so password of Oracle or root user is welcome one. So you can update the host name by going to your etc sysconfig/network using root, but using root. Okay. Once it is done, then you can ignore this updating the IP in gate2, because we have already generated the new IP address, so you can ignore this 7.2 part. To restart, so once you update the host name, you will need to restart the server using, you can use the command init6 to restart. Once you do that, then check your IP address. You will also need to update your /etc/host file as well. So ensure that content of /etc/host file is same on both gate1 and gate2. So your both the machines will be ready with that. So if I log in, so I'll log into root, and then, so if you see, the name of my machine will still be shown as GGate. The host name will be shown as GGate1. So this is what I will do now. See, it's shown as GGate1. So what I'll do, I'll switch to root and do vi/etc/network/ what was the file? I always forget. Guys, if any one of you want to drop off, you can drop off. I'm just discussing this part for, it means everything is there in document just in case. So I have to update it here. GK2. Okay. And another thing, what you have to do is go to do ifconfig. So these are the IP address available. So you can choose either 113 IP or 114 IP. Any of the two is okay. So you need to update this IP in /etc/host file. So for GGate2, in front of GGate2 put 114. Okay. For GGate1, we'll see. Okay. Now, if you want to restart, you can restart because the host name will not take effect until you restart. You can do 6. Same way with GGate1, you can check the IP address and update /etc/host file. So your machines are ready. So in the next session, so after that, in the next session, we'll discuss about how to create the database on both servers. So this is the task for today's session. What you have to do is you have to set up the VM. So what you have to do for lab setup, refer to lab setup email from ashishaggarwal@gmail.com. If you haven't received it, you can drop an email to me or WhatsApp. And database and GG binaries are present under your /home/oracle/software folder. Okay. And you can create multi-tenant database. So in the next session, we'll be discussing about labs, like how to create the database and how to install GoldenGate. So for today's session, what you have to do is you have to set up the VM, what we have discussed, like setting up the 2 VMs, setting up your etc host file, and updating the host name in your GGate.
Ashish, if it is 6 GB RAM, then what to do?
If it is 6 GB RAM, I would recommend don't clone it. Use only one.
Then how will it work?
So I'll tell you what you will do in that case. So either you can create 2 different databases on one machine only, or you can do the replication between 2 separate schemas. So I'll tell you about that. Because if you have 6 GB and if you import 2 VirtualBox, in that case your machine may become slow. You can try, but I believe it will become slow. So
Okay.
just to don't clone it. That's it. Nothing else you should do.
Okay, Ashish.
Yeah, okay.
Ashish, I have a 8 GB RAM of laptop. Can I clone it?
Yeah. So for using this 2 VirtualBox, it is recommended that you should have minimum 8 GB of RAM. So 8 GB of RAM is fine.
Yeah, I have an 8 GB. Can I do this?
Yeah.
Okay, Ashish. Can you send me the links which of the VirtualBox to set up?
Yeah, you should.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and one thing, Ashish.
So any question from anyone?
Yeah, Ashish.
Yeah, Murli.
Hello. Yeah, one thing. Why are the initial extract is faster than classic extract? Hello. Am I able? Am I audible?
Yeah. So integrated extract is faster than classic extract. It is almost 5 times faster. The reason being is Log miner is internal to the database. So log miner does all the processing what your extract was doing. So log miner is internal to the database. Extract process is external. So whatever task your extract process was doing in classic extract, that task is done by log miner, and log miner utility is internal to the database. So that is why it is faster.
Okay, I think I mean, you mean log miner do filtering, right?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. In classic, I mean, in classic actually it's not done. Filtering was not done.
It does that, but it does on its own. However, in integrated one, it is done by log miner.
Okay, thank you.
So any other questions? So guys, next session is next week, as I mentioned. So Monday as per EST timing, EST, CST, PST timing, and Tuesday as per IST time. Okay. So thank you everyone for joining today's session. I hope you were able to follow and it was useful.
Thank you, Ashish. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.